Welcome everyone to Astro-PM. In this video tutorial we're going to walk through our SubInspector. It's one of our analysis tools. If you've been following along with some of our videos, we started out with kind of a series at the beginning. First off, leading off with our settings, and then we jumped into our equipment, and then framing, and then projects, and this is going to be talking about our SubInspector system. So let's dive in and take a look at what this entails. Now, let's assume you've already done the projects and you know what these are. These are your basic project areas here. You can flip through and redesign your projects of what you want them to look like. But let's say you're already capturing images and you've got these projects beginning. Now, the inspection process is different for a lot of people. Some people look at inspecting their subs. They want to open them up in PixInsight or something, and they want to study the FWHMs, the HFRs, eccentricity. That means they've inspected them and thrown out some subs that are good, some that are bad, and separated out the night. Other people, for sub inspecting, they like to blink them. A lot of people like to flip through that imagery real quick every night. They look at every single sub. They throw out satellite trails, jets. I know people that do that, even though I know a lot of people know that you can definitely stack some of that stuff out, but people reject those. That's fine too. That's just their process. Other people to inspecting is just to wake up and make sure they got some images or for the night, and that's good. They've got some sub-inspected done. They've collected their images, and that's all they need to do. So I think the process is different for everybody. And so what we've done is we've integrated a tool into Astro-PM that lets you do all those things at a different level depending on what you want to do. And so let's take a look at that process. Let's have our projects here. Let's say we've got active projects, and I can see all of them right here running, and all of them are not finished. Some of them are part of the way done. And the first thing I would do is I would wake up in the morning, and you're going to sync your remote, and that's going to look at all the folders for all these projects and see if there's any new images. And if you need to, you can hit sync button. There will be a new sync button up here, and that lets you remotely sync all the images. And so you can have 10 different rigs running remotely, and they'll sync down to your computer. And you'll notice these all have a green all inspected. And what that means in Astro-PM is you've opened the images, and that's it. You've inspected them. To what level you've done that is entirely up to you. We just flag them as you've looked at them. So you could have blinked them, you could have ran an analysis on them, you could have done nothing but just said, hey, they're there. I recognize that my images came down this day, and they're all inspected. So that's all this does. There's nothing special about this flag. If you have, let's say, 50 images that need inspecting, it would show up here in a white sticker that says 50 need inspecting. So even though I've had all these inspected, let's take a look at what we would do. I would wake up in the morning and I would say, hey, I've got some images to inspect. So let's take this LDN 522, and I can open up SubInspector, and it immediately opens up this program. Now this is SubInspector right here. That's what we're looking at. In fact, I can click on it and you can see it's actually highlighted, so we know we're in SubInspector. This is kind of a sub tool of Astro-PM, and it's really handy. When you open up the images, you'll notice right away that you've got a graph up here that shows red, green, and blue. So I've taken those three filters. It separates them out for you here based on the header data, if it can find it. I can turn individual filters on and off up here if I want to. I can change the size of my various thumbnails if I want to show more, or maybe I want a more zoomed in look. I can do that. Okay. You can stretch them a little bit differently if you want to. We apply a default quick stretch. Again, sometimes you might be opening 500 images, and so we need to do that fairly quickly. And so the processes that happen here are quick processes, and you can see we've got a lot of images open here really quick. Right off the bat, you'll notice three things are determined. And this will be different depending on your images and what you load. Now, my FITS files come across with some weather data off of my system, so I get the SQM. You may not have that data. Mine calculate a mean and a score, and so you'll see these highlight based on a quick opening of what you have. Now, to do a more thorough investigation, we have to analyze these images. And so we can hit analyze up here. Actually, let me turn these back on or reset my view. Okay, let's turn the score back on. You can see we've got a basic graph here of the score. And I'm going to go ahead and hit analyze. And it's going to go through all 74 images here. And this is where, if you have 500 images, you may not want to analyze all 500. It could take a while. So I'll show you a trick here in a minute. So there it went ahead and analyzed all 74, and you can see what it did here is it filled in HFRs, FWHMs, the stars, and eccentricity. So it measured those values using a very quick Gaussian effect fit model for them. And so we're trying to do things at a speedy way here, and it gives us some basic data. So let's say I want to turn on just FWHMs, or just HFRs, or just a star count. Okay, we can do that through the graph here. Maybe I want to sort those by FWHMs, so I can do that. I can also see on here a sliding scale that goes from 4.66 to 9.34. So you may have a limit just from that, and you might say, hey, I'm going to reject anything that's really bad. So you can slide these, and you'll notice they're highlighting in each filter a certain amount, percentage-wise. So that's a quick way to just eliminate, hey, I'm going to get rid of the top worst 25 offenders. There they are for each filter. Okay. You may not want to do that. You may want to look through your images individually. So I'm going to, let's say, sort them by date and time. And you might want to just look down through here, and you might want to just say, hey, there's a couple offensive images. You can click on them, and they're highlighted here as rejectable images. And what we're doing is we're just simply using SubInspector to just click on any offending images, and we can hit reject up here. And all the reject does is put them in a subfolder. So your images are always safe. You can always unreject them. So if I want to view the 8 rejected images, here they are. And I can always come in here and I can always unreject them. So all your data is always safe. Okay, I'm going to go back and look at just my 70 good images here. And as I scroll down through here, you can see really quick some more of the data. I've got the filter up here. I've got how many seconds this image was, the date it was taken. If I want to preview any of these, I can click the little magnifying glass, and it lets me preview this image in kind of a higher resolution. Plus, if maybe the auto stretch is too dark, sometimes that preview button is nice. You can get a much better view. You can zoom in, really look at them, see, okay, this sub is okay. I'll take that. I'm going to keep scrolling down here. It's a really quick way. You're just like, wow, these images are really bad. So I can just come in here and just highlight those guys. You'll notice right off the bat, these guys are, guiding went terrible. Those are obviously going to be rejected. Makes it really easy to highlight those bad images. And I'd have this on purpose. This has some really bad images, so this is a good example to use. So you're just kind of flipping around until you don't like what you see. Now let me reset this, and maybe you like to blink. If you're a person who likes to blink through things, we have a blink player here. It's just a quick video player. You can change the speed, and I'll just hit play. And it's just going to start going through and blinking. And at any time, you can stop this, and you can say, oh, hey, there's satellite trails. I don't like those in my images. So I can hit reject. I can hit reject. And all it's doing is putting those into another subfolder. So they're completely safe. We're not deleting images. Oh, there's one with a bad haze over it. Some of these you'll see they get really bad. You can see down here in the corner your count, so you know exactly where you're at. As we start to get into some even worse images here towards the end, like, ooh, yeah, those are terrible. I can just sit here and I can just hit reject, 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 and get rid of those images in exactly the same way as we were doing before. And you can see they've been removed. I can come back in here, I can say I want to reject all of these. You can also hold down the shift key and multiple select. So I want to reject all of those and kick them out. And you can see your graphs start to clean up. And this is a really cool tool. You can use kind of multi methods when you do this. You can use visual, you can use blinking, you can use the statistics over here. I'm going to reject this image. And you can really quickly go through your images and be like, okay, these are all inspected. I'm pretty good. I might pick up a lot more of this when I actually start to stack my images later on. Okay, so a couple really important tips there. Another feature that's really nice, and this happens when you start collecting a lot of data, is I also break it down by sessions. And so you might have 2 weeks worth of data and you really just want to look at last night's data. So you can come up here to this session pull down and you can actually see and uncheck all of them. And what's nice about this is when you hit analyze, it's only going to analyze those images. And so you're not analyzing 500 at a time. You might just want to analyze last night's run, which was just red and blue. Before that it was a little bit of green, or maybe you just want to do the week before that day on the 25th. So you can really cut down your time that it takes. You're just waking up, you're inspecting a few images here and moving on. Okay. Another really nice trick here, and I'll show this to you, is if you find one image in here that you really like and you want to analyze it a little further. Let's say I want this image here. You can click this little graph right here, and that's going to push it over to our image analyzer. And now the image analyzer is a much more in-depth feature. It's constantly going to have some new features and be added to, but this is going to allow you to really detect stars, analyze eccentricity, you can analyze tilt. You can even analyze just a single PSF on this if you want to by just highlighting one star in a three-dimensional view. I mean, you can get really specific here. You can analyze collimation, vignetting, dust and reflections, any kind of motes you might have on your lenses. You can look for overexposed stars within your image. So this is a much more detailed view of your analyzer, and it's in the single image analysis. We'll probably cover that in another video, but for now just know that you can link to that from your SubInspector. So this is kind of a rough view of your images, and when you're done you can always go back to your project, and what will happen is within your project it's going to be accepted and rejected. And so whatever you inspect, it just constantly keeps these up to date. It looks, how many do you have in your rejected folder, how many have you accepted, and it keeps your times and how much you've done in your project all up to date. And you can always access these SubInspector from inside your project as well. If I ever want to come back in here, I can click on SubInspector and there's my images again. I can still view my rejected images if I want to, and yeah, those are all terrible. But I'm keeping these images here, and that is the SubInspector. So it's got a few features. A blink player. It's got multiple graphs that you can turn on and off for individual filters or do them all together. You can also analyze them if you like to do it that way and really look at some of the data. So multiple ways to inspect and keep your project nice and clean. So that's what SubInspector does. Any questions, let us know. Check us up on support. We'll try to do more videos here on each of these tools as we start to move through them individually. Thanks for watching.